A2L refrigerants become more common in telecom facilities, mitigation mode is something operators need to understand. So in this video, I'm sitting down with Evan, one of our team leaders and a telecom expert, to walk through what it is and what you should be doing about it. So, Evan, I want to start our conversation today with just a brief definition of what mitigation mode is and why telecom facilities should be paying attention to it right now.
Yeah, telecom facilities are in a maturity where a lot of equipment is being replaced. And as of the last year or so, that equipment is being replaced with A2L refrigerants. So instead of seeing R410A, you're starting to see R454B and R32. And these A2L refrigerants have leak sensors for refrigerant within the equipment of direct expansion refrigerant coils, and the old equipment didn't. And so this mitigation mode is a factory programmed sequence that is going to exist in these facilities, whether you're aware of it or not.
Got it. That makes sense. So, if I'm an owner or operator, how would I know if this applies to my equipment or my facility?
Well, the good news is you can know that if you buy any equipment from the time this video has been made on, it's very likely that it does have R32 or R454B. And there are now very few exceptions. The best thing you can do is to take a look at submittals and cut sheets that have been released or planned for, and that will let you know what type of refrigerant is being used in the equipment that you've purchased.
So, it sounds like it really comes down to understanding your equipment and the type of refrigerant that it uses. Is there anything that operators should be doing differently because of mitigation mode?
Yeah, so we have a couple of recommendations for how to deal with this new change that's occurring in facilities. And one of them is that if you do have a BMS that you connect it. And the reason why is that when you lose cooling and or heating of that primary system, you're going to want to bring on a standby system. And that's the very first thing that having this integrated into a building automation system can do for you. The second thing is that it will allow the system to notify building personnel, building engineers that, hey, this is a specific leak, not a cooling failure, not a compressor failure. You're going to get a more specific readout about what the problem is. And I think that without specific information, it's reasonable to think that somebody might just reset the system thinking, hey, let me just do a hard reset. Let me see if this is fixed. And we think that it's a much safer and small effort to get this specific indicator that will help you more reliably keep network space temperatures low, as opposed to continually trying to reset the same system to get it to go. And it'll also tell any building occupants that that is specifically a leak.
Do you think that design professionals need to get involved at any point?
So there are certain conditions under which the volume of a space and the amount of pounds of refrigerant that could potentially leak require not only for the fan to ramp up to 100% and this alarm to go off, but it also requires ventilation. And that would indicate or providing fresh air into the space. And a design professional should be doing the calculations to determine if that ventilation is necessary.
How can someone make sure that mitigation mode is set up and working the way that it should?
Much like a leak sensor that's in a drain pan, it's something that should be a part of your building functional testing commissioning checklist to make sure that when you close out a project, you know that this sequence works properly. Because in the event that this does happen, you want to make sure that you don't keep a unit running which has no cooling circuit active and is continually trying to run with a circuit that's not activated and has a leak. So that testing that when the job is done in commissioning is a key part of making this successful for your facility.
And I imagine that that's where things can go wrong when it's not verified. What's the risk if this isn't set up or functioning properly?
There is certainly a life safety risk. You want to make sure that your personnel know about this type of issue. The in largely unoccupied telecommunications facilities, the greater operational risk is probably to the network equipment. Conversely, like an office or a gym, you would be much more concerned with letting the occupants know, but that's just not the typical occupancy of a telecom facility.
And if a leak does happen, what are the most important things to focus on right away?
In the immediate aftermath of that, the most important thing for telecom providers is making sure that you don't lose space temperature in your network facilities. We want to make sure that a standby unit is being signaled to start up so that the critical space and critical infrastructure is kept at temperature. The second thing is letting that system get out of mitigation mode and turn off and be put on the back burner as a standby unit, and finally making sure that all personnel are safe and aware of the leak. And then I think at that point you can call a service contractor and have them look at where that leak was coming from, what might have caused the issue.
Thanks, Evan, for giving me and hopefully all of our viewers a better sense of what mitigation mode means for facilities.